Hello there, and welcome to Daniel's Infinite Playlist, and welcome to the classic album review section where we basically take a look back on albums that have been released in the past. And today we're going to review Hitomi Shimatani's debut album, which is called Papillon, which was released in 2001. And for those of you who don't know who Hitomi Shimatani is, well, she used to be a Japanese enka singer. Enka singers usually sing more traditional Japanese instrumental tunes, which is pretty nice. But then she did, like her jump towards pop music and mainstream music with her debut album and her debut song, which is Papillon, which is a cover of a Janet Jackson song. And then she got a little bit more popular after that. And now Hitomi Shimatani is a pretty successful artist, and yeah, she's just done a lot of albums. But today we're going to look at her debut album. Anyways, how is it to listen to this album? Well, it's a bit like this. We're going to do the CD unboxing now, and this is one of the aspects that I love a lot from the album. It's the album cover and the whole design of it. It has sort of like a Spanish or French market feel to it. And well, yeah, there you see Hitomi herself. And also the inside, I just love the orange CD. It's very, also kind of like 70s, 60s, totally kitsch and totally amazing. I just love it. And here's the Obi strip. And also the booklet is very nice. It has pictures of her. See, here it is. And and the lyrics as well, which is always appreciated. And yeah, there are some pictures, and also there's like this collage made from herself. I tried to translate this with Google Translate, but I didn't get any good results. So yeah, here she is. It's just it's very, how do you say, it's full of charm, which is what I like. So yeah, how is this album musically? Well, musically this album jumps from a lot of genres, but it has its, how do you say, it's a ground footing in new jack swing R&B as popularized by Janet Jackson, which is it's very tastefully done in the song Papillon, and then in another two songs. However, the rest of the album has sort of like a mishmash of Latin American flair sounding music with the Spanish guitar and well, that's not Latin American, but it has some like Latin American flair to it, which sounds a bit like, now this is not to come across as being mean, it just sounds very, how do you say, it just doesn't fit the album at all, and it isn't executed in a great way. I mean, you can execute Latin American sounds as a Japanese singer really well. You can do that, but here it sounds very generic. It sounds very much like Y2K, uh, which, well, it can both be great and it can both be bad. And here it's just mostly bad, and it sounds kind of jarring to listen to. It sounds very formulaic. It's kind of like what Disney would do if they would do a Latin American, sounding pop track. And arguably this influence works well in one track, but then again it just goes down into being just very formulaic. I mean, there's the track Splash. I think that one works a little bit better with the Latin American influence, but otherwise just doesn't sound very good. It sounds too poppy. And then it's just so funny because this album has like a really, really forward-thinking standout track that is even better than the single Papillon, and that's the song Free Zone. And that song sounds kind of like breakbeats, very modern, very garagey, very, you know, like, and it just sounds so out of place in the album, because the album just goes through this whole, you know, like pop, Latin pop genre exploration, but then it just goes like a complete 180 and, you know, just changes us that in this one and only track, which is just kind of like baffling, because I think they should have totally just pursued the sounds, or the sound or the sounds being explored on this track, or just at least stick with the new jack swing R&B, which actually works well with Hitomi Shimatani. So how is this album lyrically? Well, lyrically, this album is very much a pop album. It's a very, you know, it uses passionate flares, it uses Spanish words in between. I mean, she does that a lot, especially like in the song Fantasista. And yeah, you can hear it all the time. You can hear her say ole and then molto bene, or well, something like that in a lot of the tracks, and I think that's charming. It's very charming. It doesn't sound, you know, it doesn't sound embarrassing. I think it's really good. I think they really did something good there. And from what I could gather from the lyrics with my Google Translate camera on the phone, I think the lyrics are good. They're very, you know, like passionate about love, about self discovery, about, you know, perhaps the typical Japanese pop album, but, you know, with a more Latin flair. So obviously the lyrics have to be very passionate as well. So yeah, what do I give this album? Well, I give it a 6 out of 10. It is an okay debut album, but it just ultimately gets bogged down by just being too formulaic. I really appreciate that they try to do something new with the whole Latin American flair going over it, but it just isn't very well executed. It's just, as I said, it sounds a bit formulaic, and they could have done it so much better. And a modern example of that is Bad Gyal's music, which has taking a lot from Latin American music, but just done it so modernly and so great. And that's from an artist that isn't from Latin America herself. And they could have done it with this album. And there are some really great standout gems, just like the Papillon track. And then there's also his rhythm, and also the song Thinking of You as well. But the only song that I really, really do love is the one that's called Free Zone. And you should totally listen to it, because it's just really forward thinking, and it's just really out of place on this album. I mean, out of place on this album. It's just very surprising that they have worked with. But I don't think that you should disregard this album just because I thought that it wasn't as good. I think you should totally try and listen to it, and perhaps you'll like it. I mean, a lot of albums that I've gotten, you know, not so good reviews, I have actually come to love a lot. And you've seen that in my reviews as well. So please give this album a chance and make your own opinions about it. This is just my, my take on it. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this review. As always, I'm going to put the artist links down below. Hitomi Shimatani is available everywhere, thankfully. iTunes, Spotify, you can also buy her album CDs on Discogs as well. And yeah, so get on to listening to her music. Also the song Free Zone, which is, well, it's actually a translation. It's actually called like this in Japanese, if you can see it. Ugh, sorry, this camera is not so good. Anyways, that's it. And if you like this review, then please give a like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. I'll always do new album reviews every Wednesday and classic album reviews every Saturday. So yeah, keep your eyes open for that. Anyways, that's it for me. Enjoy music, enjoy life, people. Vi ses. Hej då!